Kerala, I have to say, is one of the most phenomenal places on earth. Let me just sketch it. It's about the size of West Virginia, a narrow strip of land on the southern coast of India. And in this country, this state, 32 million people, inhabitants are there, and 32 million exceeds the population of supersized Australia and Canada. And yet, in this very crowded piece of territory, where you have Hindus, Muslims, and Christians, substantial communities of each living side by side, that since Indian independence, the people live in peace. And there are several reasons, some economic, some cultural, and some unique, that explain it. Economic, when you talk to Keralites or Malayalans, they will tell you that everything in our state has to be of export quality, including our people. And they have a large migratory force in the Arab Middle East, more than 1 million, predominantly Muslim Keralites, work in the Middle East. And the remittances that they get, Shireen, what was the figure on the remittances? $6 billion a year, which is greater than the tax rebates that they get from New Delhi. So that migrant force has been a formidable economic asset to Kerala. Then I mentioned the fact that you have a cultural difference, and that is that you had these 3 major religious communities have a long history there, and that the Arabs and Christians came not as conquerors but as merchants in 1,000 years ago, and so they've lived together for a long time. They've learned a common language, and they also celebrate each other's religious holidays, as we found. But then you have something unique in Kerala, and that is that you have a communist party that chose the electoral path, unlike communist parties elsewhere. And you had a leadership, a lot of them being Brahmins, upper caste Hindus, who decided that they could use the democratic system to bring about substantial change, which they did. And as a result, you have a unique pattern in Kerala, that every 5 years, more or less, for the last 20 years, the people of Kerala vary from a leftist-led, communist-led coalition to a Congress party, which is now in power, a more centrist coalition. And the decisive votes are usually cast by the Muslims, who constitute about 1/4 of the population, and where they go helps determine it. And you had, again, an interesting leader. You had a Communist Party leader who said, in this city, in this state where there is no one majority, we have to learn to get along together and make deals and through a coalition. So they were able to have these achievements. Highest literacy rate in India, highest life expectancy in India, 68 to 70 for men and women. The best example of empowerment of women in any state through vigorous promotion of women's rights on the theory that women are not only an economic asset, but are role models and are essential elements in social affairs. And you have all kinds of institutional organizations where people of the same occupation get together to discuss common problems, something that does not happen, let's say, in Gujarat, where there's been a sequence of riots and disorders between the Muslim and Hindu community. So when we saw this in Kerala, but I have to say that there again, there are these twists that you don't expect. We saw the mayor of Thalassery, a city of about 140,000, and he was a communist. And we asked how he got along with Muslims and Christians, and he said, well, here's my deputy, he's a Muslim, and there's another one over here is a Christian. Then questions came up, and this was in a room we were sipping on straw and a coconut shell. And this was being filmed, so there was a certain nervousness about what was being said. And so we asked a slightly problematic question. We said, Mr. Mayor, we have heard that before you and your party make major decisions, that you consult horoscopes to see if the signs are propitious. the mayor looked around, and there was a lot of whispering back and forth. And finally, one of his deputies said, "Yes, in Kerala, old traditions continue." And so that, I think, was an explanation of a kind of pragmatism that would have astonished and amused Marx or Lenin.